but did to like, maybe have that with her other sober girlfriends. It was kind of cool, like I thought that was kind of cool, like, because my opinion in the past was like, nah, but like I've just been being more open-minded has benefited me greatly, especially with different types of sobriety, right?
Yeah,
So
sure.
maybe it helps someone and to replace it. I don't know.
I think there are people out there that it definitely it in a way it's almost kind of like harm reduction. Um,
Yeah.
it's not harm reduction. I mean, I guess it is harm reduction because if you can say, "Hey, I'll drink those all day long if you'll let me keep drinking them, and I won't go do the hard things."
Yeah.
The thing is, though, you got to trust that the person's not going to do the hard things, or you yourself are not going to go do the hard ones. So,
Well, yeah.
yeah.
I can see that.
But and we mentioned this other night. Just because it says NA on it doesn't necessarily mean it is completely 0%.
Right.
A lot of them are just under 1, and for some people that might be enough to set you off.
Yeah, good point. I'm glad you said that, because you guys, if you do go down that road, make sure you check.
Read the label
closely.
Yeah, I think it was O'Doul's like 30 years ago got in big trouble.
Yeah,
Because they were advertising, hey, it's alcohol-free beer, but when somebody tested it, it ended up being like 1.2%.
That's crazy.
It's like, it's not alcohol-free. So,
does anybody else have any questions like this? Any kind of maybe controversial, maybe hot topics, hot takes?
Yeah.
So Bo says it's hard to tell the younger generations how badly alcohol can ruin you when it's not seen.
Ooh,
I think that's right, because the majority of the people aren't having their lives ruined by alcohol. The majority of people are doing it either responsibly or not to the point where it's devastating to their lifestyle. So it's really hard to get people to understand that it can be devastating. But anything can be devastating. Food can be devastating. Sex can be devastating. Gambling can be devastating. Those are all things that can really come back and bite you in the ass. It's like, but if you don't, I think sometimes people in the recovery realm get so sucked into the recovery realm, and I'm guilty of this myself, so I'm talking about myself here too. Mm-hmm. That, oh my God, this is serious. Why are people not taking this more seriously? This is just emergency. I mean, look at all these people in this treatment center that lives are being ruined by alcohol. Why are we allowing people to drink like this? What the heck is going on? We let people, blah, 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 and all this crap. And it's like, well, that's just because that's the environment that I'm in right now. And it's big in that circle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
True.
I agree. And I don't think unless you grow up around addiction or there's family history and you're aware of it, it doesn't cross your mind. You're wearing the DARE shirt. Mm-hmm. Even going through what, 5 years of DARE in elementary school, I didn't know what addiction was. I knew what drugs and alcohol were, and I just knew they were bad. Drugs and alcohol and cigarettes. Hey, don't do those. Okay, no problem. Gotcha. But I didn't know about addiction. And
I have more.
Yeah. Let's do it.
What about, I know what you guys are going to think, but we could play devil's advocate too, is sobriety and social media. Sobriety online. The impact of social media and recovery. How do you feel about it?
Oh.
There's debate on whether, well, you guys know the debate on whether or not people should be super open with their recovery on social media. What you mean?
I guess.
Go ahead.
I guess I haven't seen the debate. I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't either, but I can say for me, like me being open and talking about my recovery on social media has saved me.
Yeah, you never had anybody say to you like anonymity or some stupid shit? Or like, you never had anybody say that to you?
Uh-uh.
Really?
No.
That's crazy.
I mean,
I have a lot.
really?
Yeah. Over the
I feel
years.
like,
Yeah.
I mean, if I were sharing, I don't know. I mean, really, it's my choice if I want to give you all the sordid details of all the shit I did while I was drunk. I don't think I would come on here and just be public about all of the emotional baggage and all that stuff. But I think talking about the problem and whatever details I'm comfortable sharing, I have no problem with that.
Me too.
I think it's personal. If I mean, I think
Yeah.
if somebody doesn't want to put it on social media, that's fine.
Right. Well, nobody should worry about if I'm putting it on there, right? Like that's my own life.
Yeah.
So that's why I
And I will tell you this. So on X is really the only place where I talk about it. So if you were to follow me on Facebook, I don't put anything on Facebook about addiction, alcoholism at all. There are friends of mine that know about my problems. It's not something like I'm on there talking about, oh, I'm so thankful that, like a lot of people are on Facebook going, oh, I'm so thankful, kind of like you see on X as well, about, another day sober and blah, blah, blah. I just don't do it over there. And maybe that's because I'm connected to all my family and friends over there, but I don't know. I just keep them separate.
True. Cool. What else you guys got? Oh, numbing emotional pain delays your healing. Yes,
You
no.
want to take that one?
Huh?
Huh?
What?
So you want to take that one?
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. If you insist. So, okay. Numbing emotional pain. So, I mean, that's why many of us use, right? That's part of the whole deal. We have uncomfortable feelings we don't want to feel. So the idea is I'm going to take something to lessen that pain, right? And the problem is you can't pick and choose which emotions you numb or which ones you target, right? So I can't just numb the bad feelings, the negative ones, even though I tried years and years and years and years and years. I thought I was succeeding sometimes too. But I was a zombie. I didn't know what my feelings were. I mean, it just messes everything up, right? Anything we put in our bodies. So I wasn't able to feel a full array of emotions, including joy and contentment and happiness and whatever, right? But feelings are painful. The uncomfortable ones are painful. And many of us, myself big time, will do anything to get out of feeling that pain.
That's right.
Hence why it was an addiction, So I have to remember that now. This has been a big part of my journey the past year is been discovering the impact of emotions on my recovery and just how much it affects me. So that's that.
Yeah.
What about you?
It absolutely does. It numbing the feelings. It just doesn't allow the root cause to heal. And I feel like it's something we've been talking about for the last few weeks is those emotions that are at the root cause of either why you drink, or ones that lead to other thoughts as to why you use and why you drink. All they want is just to be recognized and acknowledged and kind of named and given, some recognition. And as soon as you do that, it satisfies that emotion, that feeling. Does it make what somebody did to you any less worse? Does it make it, go back in time and change it? No. But it allows the feeling, it allows that energy in the body a way to release. And that's what we're doing every time we drink, is we're stopping that energy from being released. And by stopping that, it stays there and it festers and it gets larger and larger and larger. One of the things with recovery for me was learning to identify those and sit with them and let myself experience them. Because if I were to just keep bottling everything up, then eventually it's just going to explode. It's like the Mentos in the Coke bottle. Go ahead, try and put the Mentos in the Coke and get the cap on there before it explodes. It's not going to happen. Same thing would happen with me. It's just, yeah, you can't not address them and expect to ever progress in your recovery. You might be able to get to a stable spot and you'll be okay, but you'll never get better.
Right.
There'll always be something that bugs you. You'll never learn to move past them.
That's what happened with me. It was like, how did I go this long just like compartmentalizing everything or seemingly doing that, right? It keep pushing it down. You can only do that so long, like you said. And then it comes out sideways, and then it's like, what is this emotion? Oh, I need to use to get, how do I make it go away? Look at the question Charles asked. How do you guys feel about interventions? That is a good one.
That's y'all's wheelhouse.
I'm gonna put it up. What do you think, Scott? Curious.
About interventions? I mean, I had one that was just a bunch of people here. I felt really stupid. And I told them all, I just really want to drink now. Now that you all are here telling me that I have a problem with drinking and I'm very uncomfortable. I mean, it was from a really great place that everybody was coming from. I mean, looking back now, it's like, wow. I had friends that I hadn't seen in a hot minute that were there telling me they love me and they care about me and they didn't want to see me go down this road or whatever. And ultimately ended up going to my first treatment, but I went to that treatment for them, not for me. And I think that we all know how that works out. You know what I mean? I had Miley's son was just a little guy at that time. And I remember, I'll never forget, in the kitchen, he came up and hugged me and said, Scott, you got to go.
Aww.
And I was like, fuck, I'm going, because I can't hurt this little kid. And, everybody like this anymore. I don't know. I think if they're done, there's a comedian that was recently talking about his intervention, and he kind of felt the same way. Excuse me. It's kind of like, what the fuck are you telling me for? I know all your shit too. You know what I mean? So you gotta have to, if you're gonna do an intervention, you're gonna have to do it tactfully. You're gonna have to know the room. You're gonna have to know the situation. I mean, I think it's good to let people know that you care about them, and how you go about it. You know what I mean? Yeah, respect. You gotta treat. These people might be total, assholes, but if you care enough about them to do an intervention, then do it with some tact, I guess. Because you're just, defending the drink for me was number one. I mean, I've never lied about anything more in my life than saving that bottle and having an opportunity to drink or get to drink. So keep that in mind if, and I think most people that listen here were the ones that are getting the intervention made on us, but I think that I
don't know. I'm laughing.
Well, I think they can be good if they're done the right way. I'll tell you a quick story. There was a guy that I was in treatment with, drummer Jim, and I won't say more than that. But dude, him and I became really good friends. I'd beat his ass in pool every night. And I say that just in case he ever listens to this. But he's in a band that has traveled the world, and his family during COVID, it was toward the end of COVID or whatever, the band wasn't able to play, he wasn't working, he wasn't doing gigs. And so he sat home, played video games and drank. Well, they came over and they found like a half of a fifth of Jack or something in his freezer. And they're like, oh my God. So they're like, you have a problem. And he's like, oh. So some of his bandmates came over because his parents called all these people to come over and do this intervention. And these people didn't know what was going on. They were just going by what the parents were telling them.
Oh, no.
And so all these people get over there and they're like, yeah, dude, maybe you should go to treatment. It sounds like it's getting a little out of control. Long story short, dude comes into treatment And then the counselor calls his parents and says, yeah, we don't see that there's any reason for Jim to be here. There's no real signs of alcohol abuse. They didn't believe him. And so then the president of the treatment center called and said, yeah, there's really nothing here and no reason for him to stay here any longer. He stayed 30 fucking days. And the parents like, no, this dude like was convinced by his parents, like, well, maybe I do have a problem. He's like, I don't know. I don't know much about that, that stuff. And so he willingly entered treatment, did all the work, and is sitting there. And the dude, what he drank, like I remember saying something along the lines of, what Jim drinks in 2 years, I would drink in a weekend. You know what I mean? So so that's an example of an intervention that was misinformed, I guess, to say it as politely as possible.
Yeah. I like your answer. Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta have him on the show.
What'd you say?
I gotta have him on the show.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
The only thing I know about interventions is from that TV show that used to be on, and the one I hallucinated. So
yeah. I remember watching Intervention and I loved it. And it was obviously before my addiction even got bad, because it's been around for years and years and years, like 20-something years, right? And I remember like being like, one day I'm gonna do that. And like I'm like drinking and shit, like doing drugs. I mean, I literally said I'm gonna be an addiction counselor. I want to write a book. I want to do like self-help, like all this crazy shit, which isn't crazy, but it was like out of nowhere. And I always like said that's what I want to do with my life. But I needed help. I mean, what do we do? Why do we become like therapists and like counselors? Because I want to help myself. You know what I mean? You ever hear people say that's like, because I'm crazy myself.
You put that energy out there, and the universe said, "I got you."
Not wild.
I don't know if being in the 4 treatments that I've been in, every single time I've been in there, by the end of it, the people that are getting ready to graduate, I'm opening a sober living house. I'm going to start my own treatment center. I'm going to be a counselor. I'm going to be a therapist. All these things, and I always wondered, like at my second one, when it was like really prevalent, like guys were talking about that, I was like, yeah, dude, that's a good idea. Let's start brainstorming, and then I see all the counselors and like the people working there just kind of like,
yeah.
I'm like, wow, that's kind of rude. And then by the third one, I was like, okay. And then the fourth one, I'm like, yeah, dude, you're full of shit, man. Just
Well, yeah, because, and also I had a good friend. It's like he had the money to probably start a place, and like he was talking about it with his dad. He had a couple years sober, and I'm like, bro, listen to me. You don't want to do that. And he's like, oh, I will blah, 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 blah. I'm like, nah, you don't want to get into working in treatment. Like, I'm sorry, like, especially owning a place, like it's fucking wild. And yeah, I could go on and on about that, but interventions, I really like what you said, Scott, because I think that it is more than just I like them or I don't like them. It's see, I go back and forth. I used to be more so on the side of like tough love. And then, it was more like, oh, love and compassion. And then it's like in the middle. And so now I think a little bit of both, and depending on the individual that needs it. An intervention, I think, like Scott said, the way that you would approach that in the proper way. I don't know, because if it was my kid, I'd probably say, yeah, come intervene right now. I don't know. I'd like to say that I wouldn't. And that I would do the tough love thing or try to help them best I could, but I don't know.
I think
because when it's your kid, it's different.
I think you got to really understand and know the personality of the person, drunk and sober.
True.
Because if you do it when they're drunk and they're going to take it the wrong way, then that's not going to work. And if they're the kind of person that's going to immediately take that as offensive and basically respond with a big "fuck you,"
yeah, dude,
that's not the best way to do it. But if it's somebody who's open to suggestions and you're just like, you really think so?
So I woke up in the hospital one time, and I didn't really know how I got there, and I made some calls to have. Well, one was Miley to come pick me up, and this was after we had broken up. She had set some boundaries and asked me to move out, rightfully so. And she came to pick me up, and then the neighbor lady from where I was living with my great grandmother, she was there for some reason. And this lady proceeds to tell me that my great grandmother didn't want me to come home. She doesn't want you there anymore. And so I was like, what? And she's like, here, listen to the voicemail. And I was so drunk, I don't even remember what I was listening to. But long and short of it, I ended up getting a ride home. And when I walked in the door, my grandma was very happy to see me. You know, she was like, oh, I'm so glad that you're safe. The point I'm trying to make is this person came in there and completely lied about it. And so that didn't help anything, because now in my drunken stupor, I now have an excuse to go and drink at you now.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, fuck you. I'm going to drink at you. My grandma loves me. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, true.
So lying and those type of things aren't going to get you where, because that's just an excuse to go back to whatever the substance is if you get caught in it. So it has to be honest. And when you do like an intervention, like to tell them what to do probably isn't the right thing either. I think I've talked about the movie Beautiful Boy, and I talk about what Miley did with me in setting boundaries. And okay, we believe you need to do this. You're going to do what you're going to do, but we are no longer going to support this. If you need food, I'll go buy you a burger, but I'm not giving you money to do it.
Yeah.
And you can't stay in this house anymore. Those type of things. Those are boundaries. But to think that you're going to force somebody into recovery or sobriety that's pretty far-fetched. Unless you have that gun that Adam was talking about earlier, and you can keep that sucker right on their forehead.
Yeah.
I told you guys about my good friend that I won't say specifics, obviously, but she got not Baker acted, but Marchman acted, to where you can legally, a judge says, hey, you're going to treatment and you're going to finish out your time. That's what happened to Bam Margera. It actually, who got him in there is who got my friend, who did it to my friend, and he kept them stuck in treatment for like over a year, and like just kept pounding their money. Anyways, but so she kept leaving. She wasn't ready. Like, but see, it's scary though, because it's like, how much do you interfere? It's different coming from a friend than coming from a parent, because her poor parents, I don't know. But from my point of view, I was like, hey, you want me to come get you out of the trap house one time? It's like, she's like, nah, Lindsay, I'm not ready. And I was like, all right, well, call me when you're ready. I'll come get you. But I mean, people sentencing people to AA, we should probably talk about that too. Some people get acquainted to AA and they start to like the meetings. Some people get sentenced to treatment. Some people get intervened on or whatever, and then they get into the place and they get the shit out of their body, the drugs, the alcohol, and their mind starts clearing up, and they're like, oh fuck, thank God. Like they wouldn't have been able to do that themselves, maybe, and so like I see both sides, and so it's like there is no definite answer for anything in recovery, right? There's no definite answer for how to get sober. So I guess that would make sense, right? That there's no definite answer for any of this.
Yeah. If you have the energy to continue to try, just keep trying.
Yeah.
Try something different. But to try to shoehorn somebody into something that's not working for them and try to force it in, you're going to end up doing more harm to yourself, I think.
Me too. Yeah. I've seen it really, really mess people up. My parents. We should also, another thing that is a little controversial is the fact that there may not be one definite solution to getting sober. The possibility of there being more than one pathway to sobriety and in sobriety.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that?
What do you say? Multiple pathways?
Yeah, what do you say about people that, I know what you will say, but let's talk about, people will say there's only one solution to drug and alcohol treatment, to sobriety, to remaining sober, and it's clear cut like this. And if you don't do that, you're not going to stay sober. Versus people that say, however you get sober, good for you. Let's support each other. Kind of like how we are.
Mhm.
Exactly like how we are. What do you say about that? What do you guys say about that in the chat too?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's only one way. It's Jesus.
Oh,
I'm just playing. The heathen thing kind of gives that away. That's not the case for me. But no, if Jesus is your way, then just like Lindsay said, then I go Jesus, right? I mean, I'm pro Jesus if it's helping you stay sober. That's all that matters.
true.
I don't think that. I know for me, my way of getting and staying sober has evolved and shifted left and right. Right. Well, Odin. I don't know who Zach is, but I got my Mjolnir on.
Look, he knows.
But yeah, I mean, I don't really believe in that. Well, that's for another day. But anyway, it's ever evolving for me. So to say like, well, what do you use? What program are you using? Well, I'm not using a program. I'm using like the whole system.
Yeah.
Right. Like the whole PC, the whole hard drive. I'm taking whatever I can get from wherever I can get it just to get through today. And, and that's all I need to do. I'm very skeptical. I start out very skeptical of people that are hard-nosed one way or the other. And then I become mildly aggressive when it comes to people that want to push that. Because it's not, aggressive. Well,
I know, but it's just the way you said it. I'm sorry.
I don't want somebody to think that they're a failure because a certain way didn't work for them.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, that's scarier for me to have that happen than to not have my way would not work for them. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's like the religious families like that they have a son or daughter that grow up and they don't believe like they do, or they marry into a different belief system and they kind of like that more. Yeah. I get that that's a little different because then you get into where you're going to spend eternity and all this other crazy stuff, but it's kind of the same, like it just, yeah. I just want people to be healthy and recover. And if standing on their head 30 times a day for 10 minutes at a time gets them clean and sober, then I'm going to support them. I'm going to hold their legs up so they can yes. Keep it. You know what I mean? Like,
I like that.
Yeah. I just want people to recover, man. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. Oh, that was a fucking awesome answer. Yeah. Adam said, God, I'm so bad at reiterating what people say. He said something to the effect of, it's dangerous actually when I say, because people say, well, it's dangerous to say that there are other ways to get sober when this is the one true way to get sober. And it's like, yeah. Bro, like there's evidence right in front of you all over the world that people get and stay sober alternative ways. We don't all do the same thing. What works for you, what pathway works for you, that's great. And you can share it with other people that want to know that pathway and want to go that route. But to tell somebody that you didn't do it hard enough or good enough, and that's why it didn't work because it works if you work it or whatever the fuck, then I have a problem. I don't, it's like I want to worry about myself, but at the same time, it's like those newcomers like coming in, it's like it's scary to me because if someone would have done that to me, I would have been like, I'm leaving then.
It's one of those things where they've created an impossible way for some people to have a discussion, right? Yeah. So like if I go to, I'll just use AA. If I go to AA and then I relapse a bunch of times, I wasn't working the program correctly.
Right. Or doing it right or something.
Or doing it right. If I don't use AA and I get sober, then I wasn't an alcoholic to begin with. Therefore, I didn't need AA and it's not an accomplishment. Just think about that for a second.
Yeah,
I'm willing to call myself an alcoholic and then tell people that I'm an alcoholic and then say, I recovered by doing this. And AA wasn't a part of that. So, and then to say, well, then you weren't a real alcoholic. That's taking the accomplishment that I just made all the success that I just had doing whatever other thing that I was doing, and it's ripping it away because I didn't do it like you do. That's just far more dangerous.
Right.
I hate that word. I shouldn't have said dangerous. That's just far.
No, but I said dangerous in the first place because someone had said it to us, so that's why I said, well, that's dangerous to me.
It's far less helpful.
Yes. Weird because we don't want to. I don't want to turn anybody away from whatever pathway that works for them. Just like with my clients, I do not tell them one thing is better than the other. Well, because that would be false to even say that, right? I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna tell them what I do or what I did. Like maybe down the line I can share some stuff with them about how I did some step work or whatever, right? But I'm not gonna sway you from finding your path, right? Like I said it earlier, truth is a pathless land, right? It's up to you to find it and however that works for you, whatever, right? Like that's however you get there, man. Like that's cool. Same with sobriety. However you get there, and share it with me. I'm gonna share stuff with you, some tips with you, and I'm gonna supplement my recovery with therapy and stuff that I believe I need because I'm a big girl. I can tell what I need. I don't need anybody to tell me like you're fucking stupid. You have a thinking problem. Like you're a fucking moron, Lindsay. Don't trust yourself.
You're always going to have diseased thinking.
I don't like it. And I used to be the person saying it. And it's like, we have like, can we like watch what we're saying to people? Like you're telling someone like, oh, I gotta calm down.
Sorry, it looked like I probably slid out of my chair. My hamstring cramped like crazy.
What?
Oh my God. Like I was laying in the floor trying not to scream.
You're ridiculous.
Oh my God, it hurt so bad.
How does that even happen? Do you need medical attention?
No, I mean, no, I got some.
Don't worry, I'm not gonna send it anyways. I just thought I'd ask.
Yeah, I can tell you how it happened. It seems like I missed the most fun part of the conversation so far, but
no, I just wanted to really, the reason I brought it up is because I really just wanted to say that we don't want to discourage anybody from getting help by saying there is only one way to do it because it's factually incorrect. Anyways.
Absolutely.
Everyone, there's a no judgment zone here, baby.
That's right. I would never tell somebody not to do AA if that's working for them.
Yeah.
I will absolutely tell someone who is trying AA who is consistently not having success, I will give them other options. But I'll never tell them to stop doing what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
We can provide the resources, our experience, but we don't know all of the answers, my friend.
So I want to throw something out there before we get out of here. I know we're coming up on an hour mark here, but I want to throw something out to you guys. Okay. When it comes to recovery or bettering yourself, whatever you want to call it, there's a debate out there on whether alcoholism or addiction is a disease or not. Does it matter if it is a disease or not when it comes to this?
Good question.
I don't think so.
When it comes to getting sober, I don't think so.
Does it add something to it if it is a disease?
I mean, I can argue both sides. No, to me, and I think the truth is to getting sober, it does not matter. I think for some people, they need something to blame it on. I think some people need a reason why it happened to them. It definitely, to me, it plays into a victim mentality.
Mm-hmm.
I am not opposed to someone using it if that's what it takes to keep them sober, but from a factual, biological debate, no, it's not.
So, right. and I tend to agree 100% with Adam and his way of thinking on this. I guess whether it is that or not, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know why that has to come into play in some of the conversations. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like, and I'm pointing to one specific conversation, obviously that was had today. But he's not the first one to talk about this. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and some people are so hell bent on calling it a disease and focusing on that word and that label that it takes away from what the people are just trying to do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I think we're focusing on the wrong thing here. Like, if you believe it's a disease, okay, fine. We can have that debate. I don't believe that like I used to. But I just, some of these things that we're kind of getting caught up in, it's kind of defeating the purpose. Like the whole thing is, we're trying to get better from something that's going on.
Yeah.
Right. We're trying to change our lives. And I know the three of us, I can say with certainty, all the three of us want to do is to help those people get through whatever that is, whatever they want to call it.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason that we don't bring this up usually, right? We don't debate the topic of, is this a disease or is it not, right? We don't do that for a reason, because like Scott was just saying, it doesn't matter. Also, people can't even agree on what the disease model is. Many people don't even know what it is. And many people are just talking out of their ass, right? People are arguing stuff all the time out of ego. They want to be correct. They think they're correct.
Look at you.
Well, it's like, it's a little crazy, man. Yeah, I like what Zach said. Can't argue with that shit, man. And we're not just like making this up and saying this. Like, we've actually like studied this.
Yeah. I was gonna say it does. So I like what Zach's saying. Okay. Because I do agree with that to a point. We all decided to use.
Yes, we
all decided to use. Okay. But there is a dysfunction within the brain of an addict. So if you want to use the actual definition of disease as being a dysfunction of a living organism or a system or process within a living organism, then we can call that disorder of the brain reward cascade system a disease. But as soon as you stop putting in the thing that is causing the disease, the alcohol or the drugs, which is causing the excessive dopamine spiking, you take that out of the picture and you let the system reset. Technically, you have corrected or cured that disease. Now, has that cured the person from the need, the want, the desire, whatever they're trying to run from? Absolutely not. And as soon as you put the poison, the causing agent back into the system, you're going to have the disease again. So on the other hand, we haven't cured it. We've just stopped it.
Yeah.
So I completely agree that it's our responsibility. We have to take responsibility for that. But at the same time, and to the conversation you're referencing earlier, the brain has neurochemistry working in it. And when that shit gets out of whack, I don't care how much you want to say it was my choice. You're right. I did make the choice. But if the instructions and the programming are jacked up, then is the choice really my fault?
Right.
That one's hard to argue. That's hard to argue right there.
Yeah.
Right. But it's like, but why does it matter whose fault it is in the first place? You know, I think that's a whole nother argument that we don't, that is, you know.
It's so to Bo and Zach, I'm not saying that I'm not saying you get a free pass. I'm not saying you get a get out of jail free card. Okay. It
has nothing to do with it.
To take the initiative and correct the situation. What I'm saying is when you have the substance in your body and you have it to a certain level and you have done so much damage to decision-making pathways, it's hard to say it's hard to say that, you know, you should have known better and not ingested the substance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yes, it's my responsibility. I have to take that responsibility, but at the same time, it's not necessarily, I wasn't operating from a state of health.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
I think habit turns into obsession, which turns into necessity, because at the end I had to have the shit or I could not function. Like my body was dependent. That's chemically dependent. That's a thing.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So that the choice was kind of taken away once I had made all those choices leading up to that.
Right.
I just, I brought this up before we got on. I think Adam was here when I brought it up, but it was like, when it comes to the disease model, somebody said this, and I'll just leave this out there, and we can move on to something else or whatever we're going to do. But if you had an alcoholic of mine, like of my drinking variety, me, okay, let's just say me, 2 years ago in the thick of it, and you came up to me on a Friday night and said, if you don't drink the rest of tonight, Saturday, Sunday, and you make it to noon on Monday, I will give you $1 million. Would I have drank? And the answer for me right now is fuck no, because look at all the drinking I could do and all the places I could go drinking on Monday.
Yeah.
So my disease would disappear on the offer of $1 million. You can't do that with any other disease. You can't go up to a cancer patient and say, I'm going to give you $1 million to be cancer free for the next 2 days.
Yeah, right.
So I thought that was an interesting take. People can tear it apart all they want. It was just something that hit me, and I was like, dude, yeah, I wouldn't have drank for 2 days for $1 million. And then people will say, well, what about your kids? You wouldn't do that for your kids. Well, but the reward, the purpose of doing this thing, like there's not instant reward. You know what I mean? Like you got to understand the addiction. You have to be in it to even understand it. I think, seeing my kids was great, but I could see my kids when I was drinking until I couldn't.
So I thought more about that after we talked about it earlier, and just now it kind of it fell into place what I wanted to add. So that is a perfect example of the dopamine system right there, because the dopamine system is not about pleasure. Dopamine system is about anticipation. Mm-hmm. Okay, and if the if the immediate reward, it's anticipation of an immediate reward. If the anticipation for the immediate reward of drinking is greater than the anticipation of the immediate reward of something else, you're always going to choose a drinking. But anticipating an immediate reward of $1 million is going to trump 2 days of not drinking, or 2 days of drinking. Sorry.
Yeah.
So your dopamine system will be like, fuck yes, that just shot it.
You're going to be planning for 2 days of what you're going to do with that $1 million, and
that's building that anticipation. And so you're constantly you're pinging on dopamine.
Yep. And
then when you get as soon as you got that $1 million, guess what you're going to do? The anticipation of receiving it's no longer there. You now have it. It's in your space.
Right.
Dopamine doesn't work on anything right here that you have. Dopamine works on stuff over there.
Yeah.
And as soon as you get that $1 million, guess what? The bottle's over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think Bo said it right. Once I would have gotten that $1 million, like Bo said, I'd be dead.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And he's 100% right.
I have another thing that I want to bring up too, if we have time. I think we do. Fear keeping you sober. Can fear keep you from picking up again? Fear of consequences, rather.
I mean, it's worked pretty good for me on probation. I've never violated probation.
Good for you. Okay.
So, I mean, I guess. But that's not true because I was doing other things. You know what I mean? Now, well, I got to say it out loud in order to process the thought. Like,
that was funny, though.
I mean, I was drinking non-alcoholic cough syrup and still getting a buzz. Fucking my stomach all up, but I was getting a buzz from it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Why are you doing that?
Because I'm a raging alcoholic and I couldn't drink because of the stupid blowing in a fucking device for 4 times a day.
Exactly.
Son of a bitches. What the fuck? I didn't think I'd deal. Like I was taking my I was going through, like I forget that I did this, but I was like going through my grandma's like medicine cabinet and stuff, and like Googling all the pills she's taking to see what I could get a high on.
Oh yeah, of course. But that's like, so you would risk that by putting blah 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 blah.
No, I wasn't risking a
Fear
goddamn
for
thing because
jail?
I wasn't dropping. I wasn't taking P tests. So, so
You know
taking
what I'm
pills
trying
and
to
stuff.
say, though.
No,
Like,
no. But what I'm saying, there was no risk in, like, I wouldn't drink because of the fear, but I would do other things because I couldn't get busted. Like that was the time that I tried shrooms. That's when I, tried to smoke pot a little bit. So I was trying to fill it with other things, but I guess so. Technically, the fear did keep me from drinking, but it didn't stop the addiction.
yeah, good point. My life is kind of like a testament to that, blowing that one up. The fear of getting in trouble didn't last long for me. I mean, he talks about it in the big book too. And when I read that in there, I was like, oh shit. The pain that we felt and the humiliation or embarrassment, I don't know what it says, from before doesn't keep you sober, whatever. Because we soon forget it. And the desire for me to, well, I don't even say desire, like the compulsion to pick up again was was stronger than everything. I mean, I went back to jail after prison.
Yeah.
Like, who the fuck does that? I went to jail 11 times. Like, I'm not fit for jail. Like, but you know what I mean? Like, I became fit for jail, but I'm saying, you know what I mean? Like I was like, well, I guess, what, I'll deal with it later. It's like, if I go to jail, I go to jail. And then when I go to jail, I'm crying about it. Like, oh, poor me.
Yeah.
But and then knowing that, like, I'm going to fuck up my relationships. I'm going to black out. I'm going to do something stupid. I'm going to get in a fight. I'm going to do all that. It didn't keep me sober.
So now, is your question like in early sobriety or like
me?
Yeah. I mean, your original question, the fear of.
Oh, anytime. I don't know. Just the fear of, well, I guess early sobriety, because now, I'm afraid of going to prison.
I mean, so I'd have to say that it did not keep me from drinking, because even when I was blowing on a breathalyzer 4 times a day, I was planning how to get alcohol and when to drink it so that I could drink and then still be able to blow in time, and figure out ways to lower the score. And even though if I got a positive test, I wouldn't see my daughter for the next 2 visits.
Right.
So I'm still doing it.
Yep.
And now, and that goes, that is the dopamine system right there, because the anticipation and desire of the alcohol trumps the anticipation and desire of anything else, that instant gratification.
Yeah.
Now I'm at a point where, I know that if I were to go out and drink, then I would lose her. I would, I don't know what all I would actually lose, but I know I'd be losing a lot.
Yeah.
And the fear of losing that it doesn't keep me from drinking, but I know that I would.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So maybe that's, I don't know, maybe that's just maturity and sobriety. I
don't know.
Yeah, I had this thought earlier. It's something I was going to talk to my counselor about in a couple of weeks. But there's this. The theory is that whenever you really start, kind of you start your addiction is when your emotional maturity kind of stops.
Yeah.
So like you become an addict at 15, and then you get sober again at 28. Basically you're starting over at 15. And I don't know what, I can't remember exactly why I had this thought, but I feel like in the last 2 years, my maturity has just gone from, being that of like a 25-year-old's like, but hey, you're 40 now. It's like in 2 years, it's like, damn, we fucking matured fast.
We did it.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet to my age, but getting
Yeah,
close.
well, I maybe you and I were talking about this, but somebody I was talking to, it's that feeling of like, you ever feel like you're an adult? It's like, no,
Probably.
I don't really feel like I'm an adult. Like, even me either. And for some reason today, I was like, I kind of feel like an adult. So I don't know why.
I feel like if I go in a liquor store, I'm doing something wrong. Like when I was drinking, because I'm not 21, but I was definitely over 21. Does that make sense? Like I always felt like I was doing something wrong.
Yeah.
I feel like I can't look at the liquor when I'm walking through the store. Like I feel like somebody's going to be like, oh, he was looking.
That's all you.
Pop out of there. Pop out of there.
Yeah,
Chip.
I used to have this thought.
Yeah.
That's funny.
When my parents somewhere, it's so funny because they don't tiptoe around it. I mean, they drink around me all the time, but I would say probably in the last, I don't know, 6 or 8 months, it's finally gotten normal. But for a long time, even like a year ago, we'd be out somewhere walking through a grocery store or something. They go to put bottles of wine in the cart, and I could see the sideways glances. I was like, "What? I'm looking at them too."
Right? Let's all look at it.
Yeah, right.
Oh my god, that's funny.
I just want to point something out real quick. Legacy Zach said, "There's nothing more humiliating than some weirdo watching you pee in a cup." Well, I am that weirdo.
Me too.
I watch people pee in a cup 5 to 6 days a week.
Me too.
Yeah, at my last job, I was doing it too. Addicts.
Son of a bitch.
So,
I'm the pee queen.
What was it, Adam?
I just have a fetish.
Yeah, you just do it for fun. Zach will hold it Adam will hold it for you if you need to. I always, when I have two guys come in at the same time, to drop, I'm like, do you guys want to go in together or one at a time? I don't know what. I'm like, I don't know what kind of, if you guys are in a hurry or whatever, but just don't cross streams. And I try to just make it as awkward as possible, and that kind of helps,
Yeah, I would let the guys go in by themselves though. When it was me and not a male watching them, I'd be like, "Hey, you go in that bathroom and just bring it right out to me." And I had a system, and they'd all a conveyor belt.
Yeah, there was a system, all right. They had the Wizinator in their pants.
Put it on in front of me.
I pee in my. Oh my god, I was like running around with pee all the time in my office, and everybody's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "It's just pee. I'm used to it. I've been doing it for 10 years."
Yeah. Well, I think one other question that we should hit briefly was Charles asked what we do in our free time.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if Charles is still here, but I'll go first. Mine is this. And I nerded up watching or playing video games with friends and my son. Those are two of the big things that I do for hobbies.
Yeah.
Adam?
I do wood turning. In the summertime, I do a lot of paddle boarding. Out on the lake a lot. If I'm not on here with you guys at night and I have free time, I'll play my guitar or read or study.
Adam just volunteered to play guitar at the next live. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Give a round of applause. All right, thank you.
And one more round of applause, everybody.
So that's kind of the point, though, Zach, is you're supposed to stare at the junk and make sure that that's where the urine's coming from. We have mirrors all over the place, but I ain't trying to glorify it because, I'd much rather be doing something else. But I'm not one to defend a PO, but I've heard stories of people bringing in shit and like dudes like trying to tuck the cup up into their pants, like oh, that's not suspicious.
Okay,
because
fake dicks and stuff.
Yeah.
At my last job, part of safety, we had to do the random drug screens.
What you did?
It's like completely against the law in the state of Georgia because that's an HR responsibility. But I can't tell you. So like I would have to go out to find guys in the field and be like, hey, guess what? Jason, all right, man, let's go pee in the cup. And if they couldn't pee, then I just had to hang out with them all day until they had to pee. But there were a few guys that tried to, keep the little bag taped to their thigh to keep it warm. Some dudes would go and microwave it. And I'm like, bro, your urine is 185 degrees. What the fuck?
That's so ridiculous.
One dude we found, and I didn't even know this was a thing. He had a fake dick that ran I was like,
that's
what
common.
What are you on? Like, I know about drugs now. And nobody at this time knew my backstory, but I knew what all they were doing. And I was like, the fuck are you taking that you need to carry this around with you?
Dude, man.
All the goods. Yeah. No. And those drug tests aren't always accurate either, but they're pretty close. You know?
I have guys.
What I was gonna say.
I would have guys get pissed off at me. Like I had this one real fucking anal bead come in.
What'd you call?
An anal bead. And this fucking guy, dude, he comes in. He's an older dude trying to get his license back, and he didn't want to go in and pee in front of somebody. I'm like, well, you signed the paperwork, so you knew before you paid the $50 for this drop, because that's what the driver's eval drop costs. You knew what this was before you signed the paperwork. If you didn't read it, that's not my problem. And so we're in there, and he's like, and he's like, he starts over the toilet, then he's leaning up against the wall.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And he's just all over the place. And I was like, look, man, if you need to flush the toilet, just give me a minute. Okay. And then a couple minutes later of him just in there hemming and hawing, he's like, can I just do whatever he asked me? And I went to answer him. He's like, just shut up. And I was like, dude, I'm going to stick this pen up your piss hole in about a second. And then he ended up, long story short, he ended up coming back like 2 or 3 times because he couldn't pass it. And then he peed on the floor. So yeah, definitely not glorifying this job. That's for sure. Sorry. I just had to reminisce there. So what do you do? What do you do for fun, Lindsay, other than watching people pee?
Oh, but I just thought of this, just popped in my head. It was so traumatic, bro. Like this girl was like, I caught her high, like nodding out the night before, and when I was at the treatment center, and she had like a whole day to pee, and she's like, I just don't have to pee, and she was drinking water, and then I was like, I know you're peeing right now, and I was like staring at her on the toilet. I'm like, you are nodding out on the toilet. I don't care if you're high. Like, let's just end this. So no, I had to wait. I had to wait all night, and then I blew up. I freaked out because I'm like, me watching like 20 people and I have to be dealing with this. I was so fucking mad.
Yeah, dude.
Because like, dude, I don't care. Like I'm not judging you. Like I got high too.
Yeah.
I did all that stuff. But what do I do in my free time? I like to do this. I like to read a lot. I like to learn. I go to college, and even though it is stressful, I enjoy it. I genuinely enjoy learning. What else? I hang out with my son. He's 7. We do fun shit. I like to eat. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like my new sunroom.
Yeah.
I've been going outside.
I like my new shirt. I like my little alien that's joining me.
I like that shit.
We're going to mix it up and have a different one every time, I think. So, well, this was fun. This is a good one. Thanks for inviting me, guys.
Hey, me?
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for inviting me.
Hey, you're welcome.
Hey,
you're welcome.
Hey, I kind of feel like staying, but I don't really know.
I got nothing else to do. You want to talk about something?
Okay. Where are you going, Scott?
I am going
to bed?
That way.
Where at?
This way. So you guys have a great night. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye-bye.
I got video games.
Yeah, I got some shit. Some nerd.
It's me and Adam now.
Bring in the closing team. Later.
All right. See you, man.
Deuces.
You know, one thing that I have, I shouldn't say I've discovered it, but I realized I am way non-judgmental now. Like,
It's amazing, right?
I wouldn't say I was like judgy in the past, but there are definitely things like if you were doing something, I'd be like, God, you must be a dumb motherfucker. You know? And now I'm just like, this person's having a hard day. You know?
I'm like, looks like something I do.
Yeah, the thought process has completely shifted from, I guess superiority to more empathy, and but it's interesting to notice those things.
Speaking of, let's talk about the approach to helping others. Tough love versus compassion and acceptance. And this can apply to anybody, just the way that you approach and talk to other people that are struggling, right? See ya, Bo. I've said this before, but I just feel so passionate about it, which is so unlike me. But so I definitely have to talk about it. But I really, really, really believed that if I was kind, if I was like, I was enabling, I felt if I was like, oh, it's okay, or I don't even know. I just was like so black and white about it, like relapse. And like, I guess because I wasn't doing so hot in my own recovery, probably. Like I was judging myself or something. There's something going on because I was like, why am I being hard on other people? But I genuinely thought like that's the only way to do it, because if that helped me, but that's not everybody. Like I realized people didn't want to tell me if they relapse, which that's not good, because if you're struggling and you don't want to tell me, or and you're going to go to someone else, another counselor or whatever, and that's kind of what happened. And I figured out real soon, like, would I want someone to tell me? Like, I remember that when I was in treatment, I wouldn't want the therapist to be like, oh, you fucked up, you relapsed.
Yeah.
It's like, duh, Lindsay. It's like, I want to be able to tell you, just like things in my life now. I want to be able to say, hey, I did this again, not drugs or alcohol, but whatever, this behavior. And I don't want someone to be like, well, you're not supposed to. No fucking shit, man. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm seeking help. I need help, obviously. Yeah. And you can tell someone the truth in a kind way. You know what I mean? I think it's how you say it, because I can be assertive and say, hey, this isn't looking good for you. But I don't have to be like, hey, you're just a fuck up. And like, if you don't do this now, you're going to be fucking, you know what I mean? Like, I hate that now. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe whatever,
Absolutely. I think there's a big difference between holding a space that allows someone the opportunity to tell you something that they need to tell you, and to be comfortable doing it, while at the same time maintaining I don't want to say a boundary, but at the same time maintaining, like, I understand, you did that. I get it. And, we're human, we make mistakes, but at the same time, we also need to address that. And we've got to correct some stuff around that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, and I think that's where we mess up with ourselves all the time.
Yeah.
That's where the guilt and the shame come from.
Mm-hmm.
I can't, I did this, I fucked up, I'm so bad again. And instead of allowing yourself to understand that, hey, I'm human, I did a bad thing, and expressing that and processing those emotions that go with it, and then realizing and setting in place a plan to prevent that from happening again, we just continue to berate ourselves and say, you're such a fuck up. Why did you fuck up again?
Yeah.
Why? You did it again. Smack. Why? Smack. So
Yeah, it's like stop, like that's like living in the past. Like we have to stop, accept, acknowledge, accept, and then let's move on so that um we can be helpful to others and ourselves, right? Like we can be this changed person. But I like what you said.
yeah, and
Because it's like you can say, yeah, I like what he said. Because when I was younger, before I knew how to be assertive, I just had the other modes, right? I was aggressive and would blow up at you, or I was like passive aggressive, and I would keep it in, and then behind your back I'm plotting to like destroy you, right?
right.
And I learned how to be assertive and to tell someone the truth without fearing that they're gonna retaliate or anything, or how it has nothing to do with me how someone interprets my message. That's like I go to the like this is my bubble, like this is my line, and whatever I throw out, I have no control after that. Well, that's
Yeah.
how would they interpret it. But you know what I mean? I just say what I need to say without fear of how they're gonna take it. And if I'm like saying something that I think someone wants to hear, that's because I'm looking out for myself. Like he said, like Bo said, like I'm just trying to be liked.
And what I wanted to say about that, you tell them what they want to hear to, or
Yeah.
you help yourself. So we've talked about this concept quite a few times where the ego wants to be right, not necessarily get you what you want.
Yeah.
And so when you tell somebody what they want to hear, that's the ego saying, I'm going to tell you the things that allow you to perceive me as being right.
Ooh.
And it's not necessarily what is going to help me and what I want, because I think deep down you want the help,
Yeah.
but you're more afraid of being perceived as wrong.
Mm.
So that's why I had that highlighted.
Good point.
So, yeah.
Um,
And I agree with Charles. I think some sponsors take it very personally when somebody relapses, which is why I don't like the sponsor system at all.
Me neither, not anymore. And I know people that work in recovery that they should know better. Sorry, I hate to say that, but you can't, because if you know anything about addiction, then you know it's not personal. Like
Yes.
that's just like a basic. That's like a basic premise, right? Like that's
Yeah.
like
Yeah. No. And especially when somebody is actively using, you're trying to help them get sober. It's what we've been talking about all night. The pull of the instant gratification is going to outweigh anything that you're going to offer them, because anything that you're going to offer them is going to be slow and steady and delayed for quite a while. And it's a slow uphill that you're going to have to travel. Whereas what they want is right now, going to make me feel better right now. And that's, you can't win with that. And it's not personal. We can be the best friends. And I have one. The guy's a great dude. Love him to death. But he calls me up, about, I haven't talked to him in a while, but for a while, it was like every 6 weeks, almost. I could probably, plot it every 6 weeks, about midnight, 12:30, get a phone call. I'm like, sorry, Kev, I'm not answering your phone call, because I know what he's doing. He's drunk and he wants some sympathy, and he wants, he's guilty. And he's feeling guilt and shame, and the whole conversation is about, man, I know you must think I'm an asshole. I know you must think I'm a fuck up. I'm like, Kevin, I don't think you're fuck up. I don't think you're an asshole. I'm not judging you, man. It is what it is.
Right. Good point. Yeah, because it's like no, I don't think about it at all. Not in a mean way, but in a like.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That would be you could not. It'd be so hard to. I mean, it'd be impossible to help people in that kind of lack of boundaries, right? Like we don't care what anybody says. Like when I was drinking and using, it's like, yeah, well, you tell me to stop drinking. I don't give a shit if I disappoint you. I'm gonna drink. I don't even think about you.
Yeah,
I won't think about a counselor.
Yeah.
You
I'm
know?
already a disappointment. I don't care that I'm disappointing you again. I've already disappointed you.
Yeah.
We've crossed that bridge.
I used to be like, don't you know better that I'm gonna do it to you again? Like I was just like so, ugh. Don't yell at an addict and talk down to them, just puts them in a bad position. Yeah, exactly. It's like, let's talk about it. Let's see what's going on. Is everything okay? Did something happen? Like, let's talk about why you picked up. What was going on right before? Let's make a plan. Let's make a plan of how we're not going to do that again. And or what happens when those thoughts come up or those feelings come up or whatever preceded the relapse or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's figure this shit out. Let's break it down because otherwise, I'm not going to tell someone, okay, well, just get back, just keep going and just
Yeah, well, just stop
figure it
again.
out.
Yeah, just stop.
Yeah.
Just stop again.
Yeah, just go do this. And no, it's like, no, we need to talk. Like, I need to, like,
They need
there's
to
something
talk.
going on.
Yeah, they need to talk.
Yeah, like we need to sit down and I want to help.
So going back to the sponsor comment, that to me is the difference between the AA approach
Mhm.
and just a therapist, counselor, psychologist approach. One is, and not every sponsor, I mean, I can't make a blanket statement here, but I can say the majority of sponsors, because we know that the majority, most of them, are not therapist counselors. They're people who were alcoholics, still consider themselves to be alcoholic, even though they're not drinking. And if you come to them and you've relapsed, what is the first step they're going to tell you to do? All right, let's work steps again.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, let's do some more actions because you did something bad. It's hardly ever, let's figure out what led to that action.
Right.
Now, you might have a few sponsors that are kind of sharp and say, you know what, let's do kind of a relapse autopsy because maybe they went through treatment and they said, hey, this is what we did in treatment. Maybe we should try one of those.
Yeah.
And maybe you think about, some things, but it's not a dedicated progression through the thought process and through the emotions to find those underlying beliefs.
Right. Especially
underlying belief is still there, obviously.
Right. And well, and that's not focused on in a lot of places, right?
Right. Absolutely.
And the whys aren't focused on in a lot of places. That's what I just did that video about. Finding out like what are you reaching for? Why did I use? Like we talked about it earlier too. What is the underlying belief there? What is going on? Because guaranteed it's an underlying belief that is keeping you picking up.
There's some belief, large or small, that is going and keeping you going. And I would say I would put this out there that for the majority of people who are in active addiction, who have never attempted to get sober, that underlying belief is going to be some manifestation of I'm not enough.
Yeah.
Some manifestation of it. And then once they address that might start to get them into the path of sobriety. But at some point, if we haven't completely addressed that belief and taken care of it and healed it, at some point it's going to get triggered and remanifested in a different way. And that's going to set the relapse.
There you go, man.
I think that's it.
It is. That's exactly it. No, but I mean, and you can't even, counselors, so many counselors can't even say that. So like, I'm proud of you, man. Because seriously, it's why do we keep trying the same thing over and over again? That's not working. Like if someone is, there's obviously something going on. We have to individually treat this.
Yeah. And that's the problem is it's hard work.
Yeah.
One of the things that I heard all the time in treatment is like, oh man, if you do the work, it's great if you can do the work. No one ever defined what the work was. And I asked, what's the work? And even at treatment centers that were 12-step based, but they weren't necessarily, I shouldn't say that because we were doing meetings in-house, but you weren't, it's not like somebody was sitting you down and making you work through the steps, at least the ones I went to, because
right. No, because they're not even really supposed to.
So, and then once you get into AA, you're never told what the work is other than the steps. And the steps aren't the work. The steps are embarrassing. The steps, when you first do them, to tell somebody all that shit is embarrassing, but it's not the work of finding the underlying problem. So,
they would argue with you though. They would say that they would say, well, we're getting down to causes and conditions and stuff.
We do it all the time.
No, I know. I'm just saying. So, like, but that's just, I can see both sides. That's why I always will bring it up. But no, I mean, there's so much left out that I didn't learn. I just learned that I was a selfish, kind of a piece of shit. They didn't say shit, but
right. Well, we talked about this yesterday or something. It's like the steps and the fourth, fifth step. I'm like, it's been so long since I've even looked at them. I think I'm telling you right one. Fourth and fifth steps. The inventory. There is something to that, and I think it is the best metaphor I can give you is it's like playing darts. It's like, there's a dartboard over there somewhere, and you're standing over here and you're just chucking them. And every now and then you're gonna hit the dartboard. Okay, you're gonna do something that is going to give you some type of healing on one of those beliefs. So there's something there. The steps are like the surface level of starting to uncover that. And for a few people, they might be able to find it with those steps. But for the majority of people, the steps is just, if I take it to an analogy of like, building a building, the steps are the site work. The steps are going in and clearing out the trees and maybe smoothing out the plot to start building. We haven't even started building, but it's like, hey, well, I drank again. All right, let's regrade the lot. So we haven't even started figuring out what kind of plan we're going to use. Like we haven't done the work. We've prepped for the work.
Well, and if you believe that is the only work, or that is the solution of what will keep you sober, then it probably will, right? Because if you believe it,
yes. And that's what we've talked about before with the external versus the internal recovery. So, I keep saying this. Well, I keep bringing this up and saying this, and I think because it's not something that I sat down and planned out, but it resonated with me one day, and it's our emotions, our brain. When we have a feeling, when we have an emotion that's negative, we don't like that feeling. I mean, it is part of our fight or flight response that's hardwired into us back in the hind part of our brain. It's the oldest part of you. And the newest part of our brain, right up here, the prefrontal cortex, all it knows is I have a problem. I need a solution so that I can act on this solution to fix that problem. And so the steps are actions to take to try and fix a problem. And you're never going to fix the emotional problem through actions. You're going to have to dig inside of you, and you're going to have to find the beliefs and counter the beliefs.
Wow. You just explained that very well. I've never heard you say that. No, but seriously, because, I always would hear like, you can't, I don't know, you gotta like act your way. Like you can't, your thinking can't, your sick mind can't heal a sick mind. It's like, what the fuck?
So, I mean,
like, what do you mean? Like, my mind is not sick. Like, like I need help to like figure out what's going on in there. Like, I'm not just like defective to where I'm like broke.
Right.
Like,
That's exactly right. That's exactly
like we can rewire this shit. I'm not just like a broken all-time error thought, miscomputing, I
Absolutely.
hate that.
And,
Well,
and that reprogramming, that rewiring happens when you can find that limiting belief and replace it with a productive one. And
mhm,
I mean, part of my story, I've said it a million times now, is when I discovered that limiting belief of it's okay as long as I don't get caught, which doesn't pertain just to alcohol, but
right.
it was definitely fueling me to drink. As soon as I discovered that that was the underlying belief that I was able to justify my actions with,
Mhm.
replace that with that doesn't get me what I want, because of what I wanted was a life.
Yeah.
it it was a complete 180. The switch was flipped. And so
Mhm.
I think that everybody can do that. And like I said, I think the steps for a very small majority of people will hit that. They will find it through the steps.
Mm.
But I think it's accidental,
Mm.
which is why I use the dartboard analogy. It's like, hey, there's a dartboard over there.
I like
Damn it.
spaghetti.
You know,
I say spaghetti on the wall.
spaghetti on the wall. Is it gonna stick?
Yeah.
Hey, it's done. Right?
Damn.
So
Um,
yeah.
no,
That's
no.
why I would never tell anybody not to do AA, because it might
Yeah.
work for you. It works for some people. And
It
for
worked
some
for me for a
people,
while.
if they want to do actions for the rest of their life, continue to go to meetings and continue to do the steps over and over and over, because I know people that are like that and they enjoy their life. They're happy. That's not what I wanted. I didn't want
Right.
to have to go to meetings all the time, and I didn't want to have to be like, hey, well, you know what, do the steps again. No, that's not what I wanted. That's not the kind of sobriety I wanted. So
Right.
that's why I set out to find a different path. So, but again, I would never take that from somebody, and I would never dissuade somebody from attempting that. But if somebody is continuing in this cycle that's obviously not working, then I think it's up to me. I feel like it is my duty to be like, hey, would you like to consider something else while you're over here spinning this hamster wheel? And we'll
I'm
just talk about it,
trying.
you know.
Yeah.
And if it makes sense, do you want to try it? And if it doesn't make sense, or if it doesn't work, you can go back over here to the hamster wheel, because at least you're moving over there.
Yeah.
You may not be going anywhere, but you're moving. So
Yeah. Well, that's my exact reasoning for bringing that up earlier. When you were on the floor farting, um, which was uh exactly that. But
yeah,
oh man, yeah, because if I'm saying this is the answer and the only way, and you're like, shit,
yeah, right.
but I keep using, or I keep like, well, you got to do this and
Yeah.
this. Okay, whatever. That's how I used to be like, well, let's redo this and look at this and do that. And it's like, wasn't really getting to the root. I know that
Yeah.
people will say differently, but I did not get to the root of mine. And the people that I sponsored, we didn't really get to the root of theirs. And whenever they'd let up going to meetings, what else?
Yeah.
Their sponsor calling them every day, like, or whatever. It's like, well, you're fucked. What are you gonna do?
Exactly. If you're given that, if you're told and you believe it, that's the only way to do it.
That's what happened with me. To where I was like, well,
I mean,
I didn't want to go. Like I was dedicating my whole life to the 12-step fellowship, and like
yeah.
it worked for me, and I felt really good, and it was great, and it was enlightening. But then there came a time where it's like I had a family,
Well,
and like they made me feel guilty. Like, well, if you put
yeah.
your family before whatever 12-step, you're gonna lose it all. And it's like, dude, don't it
So
freaks me out.
I came back into the conversation earlier, and I think one of you guys was talking about
The fly.
how how we get the comments sometimes about, think about all the people you're killing or all the people that you're causing more harm to. I had never felt more hopeless about my situation than when I was going to AA 3 to 4 times a week, working the steps with a sponsor and saying, man, I'm not seeing, there's nothing inside of me that is changing.
Mm.
I've done the steps. We've gone through everything. Now we're on them again. And I don't feel any different. How is this making me not have the compulsion to drink anymore? This doesn't work. And being told exactly, hey, well, we just have to work them harder. And so I actually had this thought one time of, and this is the rest of my life feeling like I have to keep doing this and not drink, knowing that I'm, having to want to drink all the time. I would rather just go back and drink and then be sick every 10 days, because that was kind of the cycle that I was at. It's like I could drink and I could be functional for about 7 of those days. And then 8 and 9, I was just completely plastered. And then I'd be in the bed or around the toilet for 3 days. And it's like, I'll go back to that life. At least I had 7 days of semi-functionality where I enjoyed it.
Right.
That makes sense. That was just, yeah. So.
Well, I got to the point where it had been years to where I was working it so closely, man. I was by the book. I was hardcore. Like, I'm not saying it as like bragging or anything. I'm saying that's just how it was. Like, I don't think that's like good or bad.
The notebook turned sideways with the grid.
Oh, fuck yeah. Getting sponsees. It became an ego thing. Like, let's go speak here. It was so much ego, bro. Like I started getting in trouble going to AA because I just wanted to go get ready to see the boys eventually. And like, oh, I wanted to say all the right things because I know everything and blah, blah, blah. And, that's just me. But I forgot what I was going to say, but, what did I start with saying? What was I saying, man? I said boys and I was like, men, whatever. That sounds, what? I was really young when I started going to AA.
It's Saturday night, so.
Bro, you're
supposed to talk about hopelessness.
What?
I was trying to backtrack your conversation for you.
It's terrible. I don't remember. Oh, no. That wasn't it. Okay. Yeah. But I don't know if that's where I was going. So, okay. So I was doing all this shit and like, it was almost like I wanted to be seen as like all knowing, like I'm Mrs. AA and all this shit. And like, I know everything. And, well, that becomes kind of hard to do. Like, that was my main focus every single day, was like being in that bubble. And then, and everybody after the meetings, it's like go to dinner. And then I had a child and I'm a single mom because I got divorced when Silas was 1 year old. And my mom had to help me with Silas. And she's like, you can't leave the house at fucking 4 p.m. Go drive to your meeting, your home group in St. Pete Beach, an hour away, 45 minutes away. Yeah, because that's where I got sober. And then be there for the meeting before the meeting, the meeting after the meeting, and then the fucking dinner afterwards. And it's like, you don't even have a job. What the fuck are you doing? And I'm not giving you money for dinner. And I was like, oh, okay, she's got a point. But at first I was like, fuck you, mom. You don't want me to be sober, you piece of shit.
Yeah.
But she was right because I was using it as an excuse.
I was gonna say, so exactly. So
I was hiding out.
Nothing really had changed except for the fact you just weren't using.
Yeah, I was addicted to, like, I don't know if addicted is right. Yeah, well, probably.
I mean, so let's talk about the dopamine that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
The anticipation of going to the meeting and hanging out with everybody.
Mm-hmm, that's true. And getting my chip and like, oh, everybody, blah, 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 is just like, look at me.
That's right. It's exactly
that's all it was.
So I mentioned this earlier. That dopamine is the over there chemical.
Mm-hmm.
Chemical that is anticipation for, I want to go do that. I want to go get that. And serotonin and oxytocin are the here and now chemicals, the stuff that you have right around you. And so this is one reason why people fall out of love and marriages dissolve. It's
Why?
because the chase and the honeymoon period is the anticipation of everything.
Mm.
And then once there's no longer anything to anticipate, you have to be able to transition to operating on the here and now, the serotonin and the oxytocin. Serotonin is happiness and oxytocin is that feeling of love.
Mm-hmm. Intimacy, right?
And people can't do that because serotonin and oxytocin don't give us the rush that dopamine does, because dopamine is anticipation.
That's
so
right.
to part of the physical healing, to me, of addiction is you learning to be content with the here and now, the serotonin and the oxytocin. That allows the dopamine system to heal. And so now I can be excited about the vacation I'm going to take in 3 months, and I can be excited about what's going to happen, but then I can enjoy it when it gets here. And I'm not immediately thinking about the next thing down the road.
Yes. Okay. So good point there. So, but that just reminds me of have you guys ever done this? I mean, a lot of us do this, right? So I was living in this for a while, and not too long ago, I realized I was doing it again, to where it was like, I'm going to feel good when blank happens. I'm going to feel content when blank happens, and then I can chill. Or, you guys know the drill, right? And so it was always like in this perpetual state of like looking forward, which obviously we need to do that for like goals, whatever, right? Like I need to have a direction, but I was never here. And like, even with my kid, I was like, I'm in my head, just like thinking about like, yeah, honey. Like I need to do this. I need to do that. And like, just totally like, but then when I achieved it, just like I remember when I said, when I get my CAC certification, no, before that I said, when I get my court date thing done and get my background check done for my certification, took like a year or two. Then shit's going to be straight. Right.
Yeah.
And then I'll get my CAC, shit'll be really straight. That happened. And I was like, woo.
What next?
Okay. I'm going to do this next.
Yeah.
Woo, everybody's happy. It's cool. Like I'm proud of myself. But what is it? It's like it lasts a month or two.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what they say. They say like that only lasts max a couple months. And it's like shit is not that shiny anymore, And then I'm like, what else do I need? Give me more. Oh, more? What does that sound like?
Yeah. So we've talked about this concept in the past of and how did we frame it back then, of having something to go and better yourself in, which we kind of talked about earlier this evening. Part of my danger zone, I know, is when my life gets stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
My life is stagnant. I know that for me that is a dangerous time.
Yeah.
Which is why it hardly ever is. I mean, there's a difference between not busy, relaxed, chill, and stagnant. Stagnant is boredom. I mean, and not just boredom because there's nothing going on right now, but my life is just monotonous. So I really was trying to remember how we framed this a couple nights ago. But to go back to the dopamine thing, if you have something, one of the ways to reset your dopamine system, and one of the best forms of high quality dopamine, is something that you have to work for.
Okay? That's what we're
So if you have a project, and I think this is why you and I both really enjoy learning about all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's because it's almost never ending in the amount of stuff that you can learn and apply it to, but it's work with a purpose that you have to put effort into. And so to me, it's kind of cheating the system a little bit, because it's like, all right, I know I got a problem with dopamine and I need high quality dopamine. So I'm going to do some stuff and find things that I like that are going to give me an endless supply of high quality dopamine. So Let me cheat
That's
a little.
exactly how I think of it too. But that's exactly, as soon as he said that, I remembered how we were talking about who said it? Tony probably said it, to where it's like, how do you get self-esteem? It's not because of how, other people think of you or what you just think about yourself. It's like you get self-esteem, you gain self-esteem by doing hard things, by growing, by the challenges. It's like, he said, that's true happiness. It's like, oh,
Exactly.
okay. Growth equals happiness.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no shit, because that's the times when I'm content, when I'm feeling good, when I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm feeling good about myself, is when I'm growing and I'm constantly like learning or doing something like that. And it's not that I'm doing it to distract myself. It's just that it's become the norm, to where it's
Yeah.
like, I want this. Like I want to be constantly serving a higher purpose, right?
Yeah.
And when we don't do that, and when I'm not growing, like, what am I doing? I'm just like selfishly, like, doing whatever, like nothing,
Yeah. Yeah.
like watching TV all the fucking time. You know what I mean? Like, what am I doing? And
Right.
I feel like even when I was like not in school and I was, at work and in a job a few years ago, that was like, it was just like so miserable. And I'm like, I'm not going anywhere here. Like, that's why people say like, oh, I'm in a dead end job. And it's like, yeah, that's how I felt. It was like,
Yeah. I'm in a dead end life.
yeah, like, what am I
I
doing?
was. Yeah. That's how my entire life was a dead end life.
Yeah.
And I refused to acknowledge or admit it. And
Damn, really?
yeah, I mean, that's the way it was.
And then
So
you just drank as your solution to it?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it gave me, it kind of allowed me to forget about it a little bit. Um, it
Yeah.
made things seem more fun, you know. So
Mhm.
yeah, the dead end life.
You know what else I was just thinking too? I actually was thinking it earlier today, but I had a friend that this was her belief, her hidden belief, but it wasn't so hidden because she knew. But she used to say, I just want to be normal. And I think that I said it today. And I'm like, that's like
Yeah,
a lack of acceptance. Like, I just want to be normal. Well, what the fuck is normal? First of all,
yeah,
I just want to be able to go do this. It's almost like, I mean, obviously we know that's not true, right? We know that that's not even a thing. Like, what is normal? Like, if I could go drink with my friends, that would be normal.
yeah,
I don't think that. I don't,
yeah. So somebody said this to me one time. It's like, yeah, man, I wish I could just be normal. And the guy looked at me. He was at a treatment center. He kind of looked at me and goes, "You have hemorrhoids?" I was like, "What?" He goes, "You have a problem with your head and drinking, right?" It's like, "Yeah, but you don't have hemorrhoids?"
what the fuck?
No. He
From the
goes,
side of your
"So
head.
which one's normal?" I mean, it got the point across, right?
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
I mean,
Well, so who did I heard, I think it was Russell Brand was repeating something that he had heard, and he said, well, normal is like the norm, right? It's like what the greater percentage of people do. He's like, so what if there's like a huge percentage of people like over here and like, they're abusing puppies? And he's like, does that mean that's normal? He's like, well,
so,
technically, yes, because it's
so
the
yeah,
majority, right? And I'm
yeah.
like,
So I mean,
dude,
to take that concept and let's go back and apply it to what I just said about my dead end life. I don't know what the numbers would be, but I have a strong suspicion that if you were to take a really large sample size, say a couple 100,000 people, and ask them about how content they are in life,
mm,
I guarantee you at least half, and I would be willing to put money on way more than half, are not content with life.
right.
So to use that definition, was I normal? I was.
Yeah. Yeah. What does content mean? What is the feeling of content for you? How do you define
Content?
it, rather? It's kind of a hard one to define.
It is. I
What
think
about you guys in the
satisfied.
chat? Hmm?
I think satisfied. I
Yeah.
mean,
I'm gonna look on Chat GPT and see what he
yeah.
says.
I think it's contextual as well.
Yeah.
I mean, am I content with my life?
I thought it was like a feeling. So I don't know where I heard that from recently, but I don't
Well,
think that's
so
a feeling.
I mean, okay, so let's put it. Am I content with my life? I feel like that's something that you have to answer. Oh, God,
You
am
want to
I
hear what it
content with my life right now? Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, contentment is a state of emotional and mental satisfaction and peace, often characterized by a lack of desire for more than what one already has. It's not merely the absence of wanting more, but a deeper feeling of appreciation and gratitude for one's current circumstances, relationships, achievements, and self. It's considered a stable and enduring form of happiness that is less dependent on external conditions and more about inner fulfillment. Here are some key aspects of contentment: emotional equilibrium. Ooh, a balanced and stable emotional state where one feels broadly satisfied with life without being swayed significantly by temporary highs and lows. Okay. Gratitude,
So,
acceptance, minimalism, inner peace and well being, lack of envy, mindfulness, and presence.
so it's a very Eastern Buddhist
Yeah.
definition, which I would say then yes, I'm content.
Yeah.
I would think from the Western standpoint and from my own personal kind of view of life, I don't ever want to be content. I want to be, and I want to always be working to become better and to become more, because that work is part of how I define happiness. Because by having something to always work into, it allows me to grow.
But
So,
wait,
but that's a very Western kind of definition, I think.
but
And
what
I
if
don't want
that's
that
a
to be
different feeling?
materialistic. What?
What if that's a different like what if that's a different word? Like what if it's not contentment at all? It's what oh God,
Could be.
um when fuck man, I was just thinking of it. It's like, like you're just not seeking more, but like, yo, stagnant. Brr. What if that means like a word like stagnant? Like, and it's not contentment of a different definition. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 I think based off of what you read, I would say I'm content and I'm happy with that definition.
Where were we coming from with that though? Why did I ask that? I forgot. We were going down the rabbit hole. Ooh, stagnant refers to a state of inactivity or lack of movement, progress, or change. It can be used in various contexts. Yes, we know. Personal growth, lack of progress, development, advancement, leading to feelings of being stuck or unfulfilled. Ooh.
So yeah, that was my life.
Yeah, that I think is a good describer of that. Life is what you make it. You're damn right, Bo. What else you guys thinking about? Anything?
I don't know.
Hmm.
Both hung in there. We watch the numbers go up and down. People check in, check out.
Checking in, checking out, checking in, checking out.
There was one thing that I wanted to tie into that. Then you pulled up Chat GPT and I lost my train of thought. I don't know.
You got this. You can do it.
All right, let's see. We're talking about contentment. We're talking about satisfaction and growth. I don't know. I don't know. I got nothing right now. Yeah, you look silly doing it too.
Bro, this is like I do every day. Like I'm dead ass serious. Like this, I'll be like sitting here like.
What were we talking about, Bo?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you guys know? We're sober too. That's fucked up.
Sober does not mean normal.
True. It doesn't. It actually does not mean normal.
So, okay, that was it.
Oh, normal.
What I was gonna say is, so I have a feeling that people who do recovery like we do, you would still classify as not normal, because what is normal is not to go looking at yourself, and is not to find all these things that are blockages. You know, I think that's why I like Peter Crone so much, is because he has people, you know, his whole message is about, I help people discover where they're not free. And most people are not. And you know,
sorry, I'm getting excited.
finding those emotional blocks is, I don't know. I mean, it's
you know, I was thinking. I was thinking this earlier today. Maybe it was yesterday. I don't fucking know. But I was thinking about, you know, when I don't even know where I got this context from, but like, okay, a bird lives in a cage, and then someone opens the cage finally, and the bird is like, nah, bro, I'm staying in here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so do you know this Plato's cave story? No, the allegory about Plato's cave.
But I don't remember how it went. What was it?
Same thing. So you've got a bunch of cavemen, and they're basically in the back of a cave, and the only thing that they can see are shadows being projected on the cave. Right?
Okay.
And so they're afraid of they're afraid of the shadows.
Oh, okay.
But then one person, nobody ever leaves the cave until one person finally does leave the cave. And he realizes that what was causing the shadows are just other people. And there's nothing to be afraid of. And he goes back to tell the people in the cave, like, hey, man, there's nothing out here to be afraid of. But they're so deathly afraid of the shadows that they're not going to leave, because they have security and comfort in their fear in the cave. The shadows haven't ever hurt them, but they're afraid of the shadows. And as long as they don't leave, the shadows can't hurt them.
Damn, true.
And that is how a lot of people live their life.
Yeah. How do you not live like that? That's a big question.
You gotta address the shadows. I mean, if you want to take shadow work literally, that's what it is.
Damn. You're right.
It is.
Motherfucker.
So
blowing my mind right now.
Carl Jung was onto a lot of stuff.
Bro,
he was on a lot of stuff, but he was onto a lot of stuff.
He was? No.
I'm sure he was on some psychedelics.
Nah. I like him. I have a shadow work book here that I just started. And it's got Jung all up in there.
Oh yeah. It definitely.
Isn't he like the founder, or not founder, what do they call it? Like the father of shadow work? What would they?
Yeah, I mean, that's his whole philosophy.
The psyche and the
different archetypes that everybody's made up of, and collective consciousness.
That's right. We should do a video on that.
Yep, fear of the unknown. That's right, Bo.
What?
Bo said fear of the unknown. Talking about the cave.
Fear of the unknown. You know, I heard the other day, I'm always hearing fucking same shit. Like I'll be reminded of it. Like I'll hear it on a YouTube video or something, and then someone will say it. It's weird. But the two fears, remember? The fear, we have two fears, or everything can be separated into two fears, right? Fear of losing what we have and fear of not getting what we want.
Right.
It's so true.
So what is the cave story? It's fear of losing what we have.
Yeah.
And
Everything can boil down.
if you're stuck in fear of losing what you have, you'll never know what is possible to have.
Oof. That's deep, though. That's some real shit.
And then yeah.
Oh wait, what is Lonnie said? It's so hard to root out addiction. I just separate myself from it, and that's how I stay sober. I just worry if I had access that I would give in. Oh, like if you had drugs around you.
I got it.
You got it? What do you got?
No, I get that feeling.
Oh, okay.
I mean, in early sobriety, yeah, I was right there with it.
Yeah, for sure.
Lonnie, if you're still watching, man, you can get past that. That's the work that everybody talks about. If you do the work, you will recover. And it says in the big book that you can recover. It doesn't say you have to be in a perpetual state of recovery. It says we have found recover, but
don't they say recovered in there?
It does.
Like 19 times or some shit?
Yeah, like a whole bunch of times.
Whole bunch. One other thing.
Yeah, but we do it quite often. Just follow Lindsay.
Oh yeah, like every night almost. Do you follow us on X? Or what platform are you on? We're always posting stuff on X too. All recovery stuff. But yeah, we do. I just released a couple videos today that I did that I just sat down and talked for 20 minutes and then uploaded it.
I think I might start doing those.
Yeah, I hadn't done those in a while. And I was doing all the lives by myself. And then it was like, need to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Mix it up a little bit. Oh, I was going to ask you, how often do you think about getting fucked up years into your recovery?
As in the memories of it or actually doing it?
How often do you seriously have like thoughts of drinking? Like, is it a daily struggle like some people talk about?
No.
Okay.
I would say for at least the last 3 years, I've not had a single thought of I want to drink. I've had thoughts of alcohol where I've thought about the past, or you drive by and you see a billboard, it's like, oh, I used to drink that shit. And this is how bad it got. When I told you that I was fighting the breathalyzer, so they make these one little shots called pinks.
Yeah.
Eliminate you. You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, man. I was like 23%. Huh? I wonder how quickly that'll get metabolized. Let me get 5 of those.
Damn, bro.
I mean, now I never. It's easily been 3 years since I've had any thought of wanting to drink.
And
it was instantaneous. It was when we found that belief, man. I'm telling you, it was just like, cut it.
What do you tell people that do? What is your advice for people that may have that? Yeah, every single day they're fighting it.
It depends on the person.
Yeah.
But it usually revolves around trying to let them know that there is a solution that will fix that. And it's not necessarily what they've been told. And I usually leave it at that. And if you want to know more, I'm willing to talk to you about it and try and help you out. But so there's a way to find those beliefs that are leading to those thoughts, and we can change those beliefs, and we can reprogram your subconscious to not give you those thoughts anymore.
Exactly.
So it's definitely possible. Most people just don't know about it, and usually, if all you've ever heard is 12-step, 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 you look at me and you go, "You're fucking full of shit, you lying bastard," and they leave it at that. So. Yeah, Lonnie, you can definitely get there, man. reach out to one of us if you want to. It's no secret. It's no secret. It's finding the limiting beliefs. It's definitely possible.
Oh, you guys, so if you want to be notified of whenever we go live, hit subscribe on our on each of our YouTube channels. I totally forgot about that. It'll notify you when we hit live.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? And like contact us on X. We're always on there talking recovery, trying to get involved, trying to be a part of the conversation, make the conversation, help others and join us on there. I'm always accepting DMs for recovery related stuff only. Adam, I'm sure you do as well.
I'll take whatever you send me.
I have a community on there I made in the recovery community, which is on my X page. Feel free to join. What else? Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Comment.
Yeah.
Like.
It's been a fun one.
See, this is what I fucking live for. I have to stop the cussing. I apologize. When I get tired, it goes downhill.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it looks like it's the end of the end.
Yeah, it's almost 10 o'clock.
I love you guys. Thank you for joining us.
Talk to you later.
Deuces. Oh my God.